Hey guys, what's going on? D-Rad here. Another episode of Scotch and Scripts. I am here with Pete and Ashley Kopec, and I'm really excited about this interview. These are great friends of mine, and I wanted to talk with them about the Kopec team. How are you guys doing today?
We're
Good.
good.
Thanks so much for having us.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. I have not done a Scotch and Scripts interview in a minute. And so I'm so happy that the first one I do in 2022 is with you two. So I really just want to jump into it. I know we have a lot that we want to talk about. You guys are a husband and wife team. So that dynamic, man, we really need to dig into that. But before we get started, I'd love to get some background information on Pete and Ashley. So Pete, tell me a little bit about your career background, how you got into real estate, when you started, and how you got to where you are right now.
Yeah. So I got licensed. I guess I was part-time in 2015. I was working my full-time job. And then 2016, I quickly realized, right, it's like, this is tough. You don't really have a part-time real estate license. You have two full-time jobs if you want to actually succeed. So I jumped in with both feet 2016. It was scary, right? Ash was super supportive in that. And, we did the numbers and we're like, okay, we could do this. Even if it doesn't work out, like we can survive a little bit. So back was to the wall, right? So that definitely thrived under that. Started with a smaller brokerage in Hasbrook Heights. Then I got introduced to Keller Williams. So then I was in Keller Williams. So every year I kind of was increasing my business a little by little, until the last 2 years where I kind of hit that same ceiling. Right. And I was like, boom, reading The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, that's your achievement ceiling, right? That's what you can do on your natural ability will allow you to do. So our first step was really to, I hired as a solo agent, a virtual assistant. And that really showed the difference that can, like, your business and even your life, right? Your personal life can change.
Yep.
By bringing in that first piece of leverage. And then, with the COVID world and everything, and Ash and I were working really closely together, and then we kind of just said, you know what, it's go time.
It's go time. Time to combine forces, right?
Yep. But really the catalyst was like, I think, that first piece of leverage was huge. It really opened my eyes.
Of course.
It really opened my eyes to what I was good at and what I wasn't good at. More importantly, what I wasn't good at or what I didn't enjoy doing.
Right.
And so that really opened that up a lot. And fortunately, Ash and I, our strengths and weaknesses are for the most part opposites, which I think makes us a good partnership in life.
Okay.
So it made sense to do it on the business front as well.
No, that's awesome. And Ashley, so talk to me a little bit about what you were doing before you got into real estate full time. And then more importantly, how you went about making that transition. I'm really interested to hear about that because there's so many people, once you get to a certain place in your life, you kind of get stuck and you don't feel like you can pivot and do something else and maybe switch to a whole new different career or start a business or run a business. So I'd love to hear from you, like how you transition.
Yeah, so I was in corporate America. I worked for an engineering firm in the same role for the last 15 years. I was a graphic designer. I still am. And I was in the marketing department.
Yep.
And I had that consistency for 15 years. And, I think I got to a point where I was outgrowing the position I was in, to a point where, we were talking about different opportunities and what that could look like. And Pete brought up real estate, which was not something that I think would have ever necessarily crossed my mind otherwise. And the way that we talked about it was, to have kind of a different dynamic, to form a team where I'm not coming in as a solo agent. He's not going to continue to be a solo agent. We were going to form a team where I would have different roles and responsibilities than he would, which I think on our marriage front is good because it kind of is allowing us to figure out how to stay in our own lanes and have our own things that we own and that we are responsible for and that we build out and really master.
Of course.
So I think that that's really cool. And I think that that's what's allowing this to happen. And I think as far as making the jump, we had been planning it for a bit of time, but we didn't really have a date on it. We had a date and then we kind of kept pushing it back a little bit and pushed back and then pushing it up. And it was kind of all over the place for a little bit. And then we were very big and intentional on planning our finances. And I think that that's what allowed us to realize that, okay, no, we can do this. And I think, there's no way we're gonna get through this call without Pete talking about Profit First, which is huge. But Profit First is the book that allowed us to change our view on our finances and allowed us to realize what this could look like to do it. And that my salary was no longer as necessary as we had thought. Keeping a job for 45, 50 hours a week every week just for health insurance was no longer like the pull to need to do it. So once we figured everything out, once we put everything in, all of our planning and stuff, it was just like, we can do this, we can do this like soon, so it was very interesting.
Oh, and I love what you shared, and I love that you brought up Profit First, because I remember when I transitioned from working a full-time job and I was doing real estate part-time, the biggest thing for me was, okay, I'm not going to have this income anymore, and so I need to have this emergency fund put up so that if things start off slow and it takes a while for me to get things going, I'm okay, right? So did you guys do that? Did you have an emergency fund? If so, what did Profit First teach you about that, and how did you set that up for yourself?
Yeah, so Profit First was something that I found maybe probably going on 3 years ago now, right? And at first I just implemented it in my business, and I was doing a part of it, but reading the book really brought it all full circle. So we started doing it there, and then we have some investment properties, and I kind of was like, oh, well, we can do this for our investment properties as well. And then when we were figuring out what our, what we need to hit every month to survive on a personal level, boom, Profit First, equation came right into it again, which was really it's just enlightening, right? It gives you a really clear picture as to where you are and where you need to make some adjustments. But yeah, we did the vault account. We have 6 months of reserves. Before we made the jump, we made sure that we had 6 months of reserves and then some, right? We have our day-to-day reserves. If we needed we're having a slow month, we can pull some out of there. I mean, when we kind of look at the vault account as that's like break glass in case of emergency. And, we know that when we get to the point, if we ever get to the point where we need to break the glass, we need to start making some adjustments quickly, right? If we need to touch that first month out of those 6 months, what it's really telling us is we have 5 months to ramp up sales, or cut expenses, or, maybe consider something else.
That's right. That's right. So what I hear you both saying is that everyone who's watching this interview, who's a real estate agent or independent contractor, they need to read Profit First. I've read it. I have my Profit First account. It's a book that we all should be reading, right?
100%. And I think it's something that even if you don't implement 100%, you need to understand conceptually. And it might not happen overnight. I would highly recommend reading that book with somebody to bounce things off of, right? That's huge. And to bring some clarity. But yeah, every agent should read Profit First.
Love that. Love that. So tell me, now that you guys have formed your team, what are your specific roles in the team? And Ashley, I'll start with you.
So I'm coming in as, we're talking about leverage. So Pete was, a solo agent for, 6 years or 6, I think. And so he was solo agent for that long, and he was, wearing all of these hats. So what I'm coming in to do to help with is the transaction process. So the end, the back end of everything. So that'll include, design, marketing, social media, event planning. It's going to be overseeing our transactions and trying to make sure that everything is as smooth as possible so that we can help more people and deal with more clients at one time and have a smoother process. So it'll be overseeing our virtual assistant and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm just building the models and systems to actually run this as a business,
How's your learning curve?
We're getting there. We're getting there.
It's a lot to learn, right? It's like drinking out of a fire hydrant.
It's a lot.
So much information.
Yes. It's a lot to learn, and it's a full career change. But it's all very intuitive. It does really make sense. And I think it's interesting too, because Pete, was operating a certain way for so long that now I'm coming in and proposing different questions, and we're trying to restructure some things, I think, in a way that is more conducive to us having a team now. So it's actually, I think it's a good point for this growth, you know?
That's great. That's great. And Pete, so you're the rainmaker. You're out there taking care of business. So talk to me about your role from lead generating to closing deals.
Yeah. So, and just one thing I want to touch on real quick, as far as like the transition, you know, from Ash and like how the dates kept changing. I think and you mentioned the learning curve, right? I think one of the biggest things that we realized is similar to what I realized as a part-time real estate agent, right? It's like, we were trying to, Ash was trying to get up to speed, because we were like, okay, once you know everything, then we'll get started as a team, right? And we found ourselves getting really frustrated, because Ash is working a demanding full-time job, and then at 6 o'clock, I'm supposed to now teach her everything in real estate. Who has the brain power for that? Mm-hmm. So it kind of just, that's where the time frame just got closer and closer and closer. Then we reviewed our finances, and we were like, okay, now's the time. And we're not supposed to be a team on paper, for another 6 months. Right. Mm-hmm. But we had to just rip the Band-Aid off. But as director of sales, really, I mean, a big part of why we knew Ash was ready to come on board, as far as my business was concerned, was because I was spending too much time in the weeds. Right. And I was spending way too much time writing contracts late at night, trying to develop systems. How is this going to work? How is that going to work? And not spending time with my people. Right. That's, for me, has always been like the biggest supporter of my business has been my people and my sphere of influence. And I really kind of reflected and realized I'm not in touch with them as much as I should or want to be. Right. Mm-hmm. So my role in this team is really just to continue to be the face of the team, continue to do videos and put educational content out there for our clients or any potential future clients. And really just continuing to call, email, wish them happy birthdays, anniversaries, and just really be a part of their lives. Right. It's not I always say, like, I'm going to be your realtor for life. Right. Like, we want to be your real estate team for life. And that doesn't just mean every time you do a real estate transaction. Right. We've got so many resources in this business, whether it be, cleaning people, painters, plumbers, all those people, but even just other things, right? Financial people, wedding planners, all different kinds of resources, because we're just talking to people every single day. So just really trying to play that role of, we call it director of sales, right? Because ultimately sales generate from it, but it's really just being a connector in our community and our personal community and our community, on a lot of different levels.
Pete, I love that. And let me ask you, your business, when you look at it, are you more listing heavy, or do you work with more buyers, or is it a balance?
So I started off more buyers, I think, as most agents do. Right. But I've been very fortunate in the last, buyers then have to sell their home. So I've been very fortunate. I mean, and that's really where the follow-up comes into play, right? It's being part of their lives. And so as of the last year to 2 years, I've been more listing heavy. But I'll never say that I'm a buyer's agent or a listing agent, right? I'm a real estate agent. You got real estate, I can help you with it.
That's right. The reason why I bring that up, one thing that I learned very early on, the 3 L's of real estate: you get your leads, you get your listings, you get your leverage. And when you have the listings, buyers come from that, right? So it seems like you are really following the 3 L's, and Ashley, you're giving him that leverage to really focus on creating more listings out of the leads and creating more opportunities, and being the face of the business and getting out there and wishing people happy birthday and kissing babies and doing all the social media posts. All of that is super duper important. One of the biggest struggles I see a lot of agents have is they don't know how to create content. They struggle with, what do I put on Instagram? What do I put on TikTok? And I see you, and I know that you have a great presence online, and I'm sure that you also want to improve that presence. Where do you find your inspiration on what to post and how to communicate your message out there to your clients?
So I was fortunate when I started in this business to have a great mentor who pretty much like, okay, congratulations, you got your real estate license. Here's a camera in your face, like, start recording video. So that, I got over that like nervousness, and I still get nervous. Like, that doesn't ever completely go away.
Right.
But as far as my inspiration, honestly, it's like, just do it.
Yeah.
Like you know, when people say I don't know what to post, it's like everybody does have ideas. And I think we talk ourselves out of it really quickly.
Yeah.
Or overcomplicate it. Keep it
Sure
simple.
do. Yeah, just keep it simple, and done is better than perfect. Just do it. It doesn't have to be, I have a great camera, I have the perfect lighting, I got the best microphone. Like some of the best videos are done with this, right? So yeah, you're right. Don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah. And for like a more like tangible thing, right? For like a newer agent or any agent really who wants to start with video, you know, I think oftentimes we forget what we know that the general public doesn't, right? So you've got your buyer consultation, you've got your listing consultation, you've got certain parts of the process. Just start by doing a you know, 90-second video or a minute video of just, hey, this is how home inspections work. Like, hey, this is how this works. Like, and just start filming that video. By doing that, you're confident in what you're talking about, right? So you're not, you shouldn't be second guessing yourself as much. And it's informative for some people. Like that really helps some people. And especially if you're not doing video, honestly, your people would love to see you doing video. Like those first couple videos, I was like the donut realtor for like the first like 6 months of my business, because I did a goofy video about we got donuts at the open house and just silly stuff like that. I mean, I think it's just a matter of just that. But I would say just start with what you know and put that info out there.
And you do a good job behind the scenes. Like, this is my day, this is what I'm doing. I believe personally, people don't want to see, hey, I got an open house on Sunday. Hey, I just got a new listing. Hey, under contract. It's great to post that, but what did you do to get that listing? Like, let me see you on the phone. Let me see you door knocking. Let me see you interacting with your clients, right? People want to see who you are and how you show up and how hard you work. And it's just a matter of, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk says, document your day. Everything you do, you know, brushing your teeth. I've seen some videos, right? You're brushing your teeth, you're getting your day started. You've done that. I've done that too. But the response to that, people are paying attention because it's different than what most people put out. So it catches their attention. So I think you guys are doing a lot of the right things. And I think your advice to just get started, it doesn't have to be perfect, is right on. It's right on. So here's something I want to talk about. I've been married 21 years, right? I love my wife. We have a great relationship. In the evenings after dinner, we sit down, I'll talk to her about coaching and all the things I do, and she'll talk to me about her job, and we always have something to talk about. When I think about you guys joining forces and now you're working in real estate all day, and then in the evening, you know, you're a married couple, how do you guys separate that? Like separate real estate and say, okay, we're not talking about work because we know what happened today already. How do you make time for yourself as husband and wife, and then actually make that a priority in your relationship? I'll let Ashley take that.
So we're working on it.
Yes.
You know, it's still a new thing for us. But I think it's something that, you know, we've been together for 13 years and married for 3. And we are, you know, we're best friends. So I think a lot of the time, like we really do enjoy a good amount of time together. So like, but we need the open dialogue to be like, okay, now you need to do something separate and I need to do something separate. Sure. And we need to take that time, you know, in a way that we didn't really need to before because we already had separate, you know, things in separate times. Right. But, you know, we still make date night really important. And we're still figuring out what we can, like where the go and no go conversation is on date night too. We just stated a safe word of when we get to in the weeds of real estate talk, and it's tangerine. And so if you ever hear that happening when we're out in a social environment, that means we've talked too much about real estate. But we do like talking about our goals and about where, you know, we do see everything going within our lives. Of course. So there's just there's that line that we have to walk of not getting too transactional, I guess, about it. You know, and just figuring out our schedule too, which is different for me coming from, you know, a Monday through Friday job. But our schedule is something we're working out, and that's something that I'm leaning on Pete a bit with. You know, we're figuring that kind of stuff out.
Of course. I love the safe word. I love tangerine. I think that's important. And I know you guys on the personal level. So when you say date night, I know that that's something that you time block for. And we all know if it's not on your schedule, it doesn't exist. So I love that you make that a priority. What's that look like though? How do you guys go about scheduling your date nights to make sure that connecting on a personal level stays top of mind for you? Is that something you plan out once a week? Do you plan that out for the year? Is it a set day where you go out? What's that look like? Pete, I'll give you that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're still working out, the work-life balance, right. And counterbalance really, because there is no perfect balance, right. I think for us, like we're trying to meet with other husband and wife teams, right. And kind of just get some stuff like feedback from them. What do you guys struggle with? What do you guys find works? No one succeeds alone, right? And that's important to remember, is that you've got one of my favorite quotes from the MREA is standing on the backs of giants, right? So you see someone who's a giant in your industry, go meet them, talk to them, learn what they learned beforehand. So, but on a more like personal end of it, I think we don't really, right? We don't really plan out kind of what we're going to talk about. I mean, we are implementing, I remember when we first started, it was like the first week of like Ash really kind of getting into the flow of how an agent's schedule goes. And, we blew right past Saturday, Sunday, and we're right back into Monday again. And she kind of looked at me and was like, this is tough. Like, I didn't.
It doesn't really stop, does it?
No, it doesn't.
So I think like some advice that like I've learned in the time that we've been together and doing this is like, there's a couple things, right? Like, acknowledge the fact that if somebody's feeling an emotion, like there's a reason for that, right? Like and it may be yourself, right? If I'm frustrated, look, we have conversations and we get frustrated at times with each other. So instead of making that worse and just trying to impose your will on the other, you have to know when to say, all right, time out. Like, let's take 10 minutes. And what I try to do is just kind of like reflect on like, okay, why do I feel this way? And is it something that, how can we address this? Right. Kind of, not everything has to be this whole big moment, but sometimes just stepping back and being like, okay, I have to acknowledge the fact that Ash just doesn't have the experience in this. So she doesn't know, that. Right. And sometimes it's like, well, okay, I need to learn how to communicate with her a little bit better. And instead of saying it one way, say it the other way. And we've had conversations about that. Right. I mean, we've talked to each other about like, hey, it's not so much what you said, it's how you said it, or vice versa. And, when it comes to date night, I think, like for me, I could talk real estate like all day, like in and out, like that's, enjoyable to me. And, but it does get exhausting and there needs to be a break. So I think what we've kind of, with Tangerine and like some of these things is like, it's important to talk about our goals and to some degree systems and processes like at a bigger level. But I think where we really get into issue is where it's like, did you send this email? Did you set them up on this buyer search? Did you send the listing agreement? Like that kind of stuff is not like, that's what Tangerine is for.
That's right. That's right, Pete. I love that. So a couple of things I want to touch on. Number one, I love that you guys will openly say, we're working on it. We haven't quite figured it out yet. Like no one expects you to be perfect. And yet I meet so many people and they feel like they have to show up like they know it all and it's all figured out. It's this process of figuring things out together. And it's okay to say, we're still working on it. So I love that about you two. Secondly, Pete, I heard you say work-life balance. And that used to be something I always talked about. And I read something online and it said, you need to flip that and focus on your life-work balance. And once I made that shift, things became really clear that to live the life by design I want, I put life first and then I schedule work around it. And boy, that just really opened up a lot of things for me. So I wanted to share that nugget. And the second thing I may have shared with you guys already, but I think it'll be good for everyone who's watching the interview, about twice a year, and I've been doing this for 15 plus years, I'll sit down with Michelle and we'll have this conversation. And first of all, my mindset has to be, I have to be open to the feedback she gives me. And so I sit down with her and I say, how am I showing up as a husband and as a father? And what do I need to do to improve on any level? Like, just talk to me about what you need from me. And it started off with things like, you come home and all you do is watch TV. And I'd like to talk with you and have some conversations. And there were some good shows on at that time, 24 things I was really into, but I had to learn to turn the TV off and say, let's go for a walk and let's take a walk together and let's talk. And I will tell you that has kept us from having major blowups because I'm hitting it head on and saying, if I'm not doing something, let me know so that I can fix it. And as a man, I was willing to fix it. They always say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You can, but the dog has to be willing to learn the tricks. And so if you guys don't do anything like that, I have to tell you, it's really made a difference in my relationship on the personal and the professional level, because we can talk about how we need each other to show up. So I want to share
I
that
love
with
that.
you guys.
I love that. Yeah. And I think for us too, like we're always together. Like from the time we started dating, like we've always enjoyed each other's company. Like we didn't, it wasn't, hard for us to be together for so long. And something else I'll say is, before we started on this venture, we had an agreement that like our relationship and our marriage comes first. And if we get 6 months into this or whatever, however long, and our marriage starts to suffer due to business, it's changing. Like that's it. We'll figure it out another way. And that's okay. So I think that was important too, that expectation was set like very much from the beginning.
I love that. Ashley, you were going to say something.
I think we also, we made this choice based on the fact that we do enjoy spending so much time together, and that we do, enjoy each other's company, because I think you have to in a situation where you're choosing to work together.
Yes.
And, I think that's where the lines of our responsibilities make a difference. Like I needed to come into this. I mean, I had a full career myself that I built, and I needed to come into this and not, feel like, oh, it's cute, Pete's wife is going to help him. Like that's not what we're doing here.
Right.
It's important to me that I have my own career. It's important to me that I feel like I own, what we're doing. And the reason we got into this is Life by Design, like you said before. Like it's important that we are not, I felt tied to somebody else's dreams for my entire career, and it's finally time for us to be able to build our own. So
I love that, Ashley. And I want to talk about Life by Design later, but what I want to talk about right now, 2022, you guys are working together now. You guys have the support of each other. If you don't mind sharing, and if you don't want to share, no big deal. What's your goal for this year? Number of units, volume, and then what pillars are you focusing on in order to hit those goals for yourself? And Pete, I'll let you start off with that.
Yeah. So our goal this year is 45 million closings, 45 closings. My coach actually
that's a lot
said,
of closings.
That's a lot of closings. My coach said something to me maybe a month or two ago that really resonated with me. And it was, you can control units, you can't control volume, right? You don't always know how much it's going to sell for, what the market's doing, where your people's properties are listed. So really our main focus is the number of units, 45 units, which should result in about 20 million in sales volume.
Great.
Our main pillars are definitely kind of as I alluded to before. I mean, database is really, and really when I say database, I mean sphere of influence, like the people who know me, like me, and trust me, like us, know us, like us, and trust us. We're working on kind of sorting out some other things. Something else that I'm took away from family reunion recently, and that I've always wanted to do is buyer and seller seminars and webinars, and just kind of really my philosophy in business has always been leading with education, right? Yes. I have kind of an analogy and then a saying that I kind of find myself repeating. The analogy is really like, listen, whether they're buyers or sellers, I'll say to them, listen, this is your car, you're driving. Yep. I'm just giving you directions on how to get to where you want to be. Right. I'm not going to tell them that a 1-bedroom is better than a 3-bedroom. That's up to them. I'm just going to show them how to get to whatever their goal is. Right.
Love that.
And then the other expression that I find myself using a lot is along the same lines where, listen, I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm not here to pressure you in anything. I'm here to give the information, get you the information that you need to make the best decision for you. Love that. So it's really just two ways of kind of saying the same thing, but they're a little bit different. So those are kind of our pillars. So it's just kind of leading with education first,
of course,
and just really, and something we kind of touched on, but Ash she's an event planner, whether she knows it or not. When it came to our wedding, when it's come to anything that we're doing, right? we need to know, where are we going? When are we going there? Where are we going to eat? It's just part of her natural ability, and she's really good at it. So we're going to get to do a lot more client events and things like that. And with her skills in graphic design, it's not only going to get done, but it's going to look beautiful. And so I'm really excited about that, because it's just a great way for us to give back to our community and people who've done business with us and who have referred us business in the past.
So I love the fact that you're talking about doing client appreciation events, right? That's another way to stay plugged in. Plus, documenting that gives you so much content to put out there on social media. The other thing you talked about, doing seminars, when you bring that up, the first thing that hit me is something I've been thinking about for my coaching business, which is doing webinars that could be pre-recorded, drive people to my site. They can watch these great webinars on scripts. Your people could watch great webinars on the buying and selling process, but then creating like an ebook, a workbook that they can actually download, right? And just giving them content, giving them information. It's that Gary V concept of the jab, 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 right hook. You're giving so much information. And so then when you call and say, who do you know is looking to buy, sell, or invest, they want to help you because you've done so much to help them. And so I think it's a great pillar in your business to focus on your database, but also focus on educating and giving seminars, because people appreciate you giving. And then when it's time for you to say, hey, who do you know? They don't have a problem helping you out with that.
Yeah. And I find myself I feel like a little bit of the old school mentality is like, keep all the information to yourself because that's why they need you. Right. Yeah. And it's like, if somebody wants to know how a home inspection is going to go, right, they can Google it, right? It's not anything. We're not guarding this secret stuff anymore that nobody can find out on their own.
Right.
But what I have found is in researching it, different states and different places do different things differently. And sometimes the information isn't always in the best interest of the client. So I'd rather give my people my take on the information and really make sure that they're getting the best. And when they think of it, they think, oh, Pete has that resource. And that's
right.
That's where I struggle a little bit. For me, I'm pretty much like always been like an open book, like, hey, I'll give you all the information that you want or need. Because if you're not going to work with me after I do that, you probably weren't going to work with me anyway. So I'd rather you have the information to protect yourself from whoever you do end up working with.
No, that's the right attitude. You're coming from contribution. And we were talking about this during a mastermind about creating a video series of what happens next. You get a seller, it goes, you get an offer on it. What happens next? You talk about a turn and review. We're done with that. What happens next? And you have this whole video series. So every time you get a client, you just send them the playlist from YouTube. I know you're going to have some questions. You may not remember everything I covered with you, but this video will tell you what happens next at every step of the game, right? Same thing. You can do that with the buyer as well. So you're not constantly saying the same thing. You're giving them the information where they can go watch the videos, because sometimes people have questions, but they feel silly saying, can you explain that to me again? So when you give them that cheat sheet, that video, it takes a lot of pressure off, but it's a tremendous resource for you. So I love what you guys are talking about. So we're into February, almost March. Are you guys tracking to hit your goals? Are you where you need to be? Are you behind? Are you ahead?
We're getting there. We're getting there. We have a lot of great people and we have a lot of great opportunities, and we have a very strong pipeline right now and people who are interested, and it's just a matter of waiting for it to be the best point in time for them. I feel like that's a lot of it. I mean, I don't know if we're trying to go into the market right now, but I mean, I feel like everybody in this industry understands kind of where the buyers and sellers are at right now. So, but I mean,
they do.
We do have a lot of great people who are ready to go as soon as the opportunities, arise for them.
They're ready to go. They don't know where they're going to go because, we don't necessarily have an inventory problem. The homes are just selling so quickly. And I love the fact that you guys are talking about things to do for your lead generation, because that's the issue. We don't have enough people out there generating new business and talking to people who actually want to sell their home. So I think the activities you're doing with getting in touch with your database, having these client appreciation events, doing these seminars, you're going to pull people out of the field that are interested in working with you. And that will help you create opportunities for your clients that don't necessarily know where they're going right now because of our inventory issues. So,
yeah. And just on that a little bit too, I mean, a couple things like, success happens gradually and then suddenly, right? So it's like things, I think we're gearing up. I think in a sense, the real estate gods are giving us a little bit of a tough market right now, because it can only get easier from here. And it's giving us some time to really iron out those systems and how this process is going to work with what we have. And the other thing I would say is, like, you can really always be on track for your goals, right? It's just a matter of making adjustments along the way.
Very
So
true.
if you're on track, like right now, our goal is like just under 4 transactions a month, right? We've got 2 transactions in. So now that just means we need to add a half of a transaction or 3/4 of a transaction throughout the remaining months in the year. So if you look at it the right way, it's just, okay, it's time to amp it up. And, if we hit 6 or 7 transactions in a month, that lightens the load for the rest of the months in the year. So
That's right.
it's took me a while for that light bulb to go off.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I think it's just a matter of perspective and how you look at it.
Have we ever talked about the 15th protocol, or have you heard about it?
I'm almost positive you've told me this, but you've taught me so much that one may have slipped through. So let's talk about it.
So essentially what it is, on the 15th of every month, you have it in your calendar, review where you are. Are you on track to hit your numbers? And if you are, great. If you're not, you have a checklist of certain things that you can immediately do. Go do a bold 100 and call 100 people in your database, and ask for referrals. Go out there and door knock, call for sell by owners. Like, you have this whole checklist of things that you can do. Who have I done the CMA for and they haven't listed? Let me call them and see if they're ready yet. And so you have maybe 10 or 15 to do things if you're not on track to hit your goal. And I think the problem is as agents, we end up waiting to the end of the month to realize, hey, I didn't hit my goal. I'm not on track. And if we just had a hard stop on the 15th of each month and took stock of where we are, and if we knew that we were behind, we could double down, maybe make more calls, maybe spend more time out there door knocking and talking to more people. And so that's really what the 15th protocol is all about. And I think it's extremely important for all agents to have that in their calendar each month, to sit down and just take stock of where they are.
See, you did teach me that. That's what I'd said it in the 12-month thing, but you
Right.
taught me that, and I love it, man. That's it. I love it.
Hey, so what's your plan, like long term? Are you guys looking to have that type of 7th level business where you can walk away and have someone running your business and maybe do some other things that are important to you? Or do you see yourself selling real estate forever? Like, what's the goal for the Kopec team? And Ashley, I'll let you start off with that.
Yeah, I think we want to get to a point, this obviously is always going to be ever evolving as well, but we want to get to a point where we can replace ourselves,
Yes.
where we have a situation where we can grow and have a, well-oiled machine that's working, and enough people who we trust and have trusted to take care of our people.
Right.
And it'll give us the opportunity to step away and do the things that, we're even, I don't want to say more passionate about, because we're passionate about this too, but like the other, just figure out what our, purpose is after this. And, maybe that's, we were joking, recently, maybe it's living in a different city every month for 12 months and just see what that looks like. And, just be able to have the fluidity to do that and have a business running that is, one that we really take heart in.
I think that's a really good plan. And listen, between, being 7th level and having people running your business, owning investment property where you have that passive income coming in, you can actually do that. And I love hearing that, because my goal is to travel and do photography and do some coaching on the side. But I actually want to go see the world. And with this phone and my camera, I can go anywhere and do anything. We're not tied to, staying in one city to create our livelihood. So there's so many opportunities out there for us. P, how about you? Same question, like where you want to see the business go?
Yeah, I mean, when we set out, we said 5 years. That's our plan. Is in 5 years. It's not to necessarily in 5 years, okay, we're out, like we don't have to be a part of this anymore, but it's to have the choice, right?
Yes.
To build a strong enough team that in 5 years we have the choice of what we want to do next. And maybe it is still plugging in, and maybe it is, I suspect that what we're going to build here is going to be really enjoyable. It's not going to feel the same way as a solo agent running around from place to place to place. It's going to be building a true team with people around us that we really enjoy. So that's something. And kind of touching back on profit first is like, if you start with profit first, the whole idea behind profit first is you start in owner's compensation, right? That's our salaries. And the idea is to then be able to transition it where we're not getting paid out of owner's compensation, we're getting paid out of profit, right?
Yeah.
So you have to maintain that profitable business in order for that to happen. So I think, we're starting off on a pretty good foot in, in black and white, right? We know things change, right? But like, that's really where our goal is. I mean, our goal is to be able to really build enough passive income as well, where real estate business or not, that's what we can do. And when Ash, we were talking about the traveling different city every 12 months, what Ash failed to mention is own a property in those 12 different locations and just literally just Airbnb them or VRBO, and just boom, this month it's not on the books. I mean, to me, that the idea of like mapping out our year and just blocking out that month of rental property for us to live in, like that would be awesome.
And listen, as real estate agents, we really need to own investment property, right? If it takes you 5 years to get your first one, that's fine. We need to have that. And you're pointing, right?
Well, yeah, because I think it's important. Like, and I'll tell this story real quick. Is we were in this. I was here on a listing appointment, and I met with these clients a few years prior, and some things didn't really map out. The market wasn't as strong as it was. They owed a little more than it made sense for them to sell at that time. I came back like 2 years later. Just now I'm like on autopilot. I'm like, all right, cool. You guys are ready. The numbers work. We'll get it on the market. This is what the deal is. And I came back probably 2 or 3 times just to meet with them. Then I'm literally in this basement where I am right now, with the photographer, already paid for the photos, got the marketing ready to go. And I'm just like, I think we should buy this house. I was like, I think this would work for us. And, we were actually able to upgrade our living space pretty significantly, be in a cool area here in Bloomfield, right off of Broad Street. And because it's a 2-family, we're paying a little less than what we were paying to live in our single family house.
Awesome. What a great move. What a great move.
And I hope people hear that and they don't think that it's to brag or to say that to me, it's possible, right? We should be looking at every single, if we can do it, right? Like we're not rocket scientists. We took a chance, and so far so good.
It's not bragging, man. When I hear that, and when everyone else hears that, they should be inspired to know that they can do it too. And when you're in real estate, you have your ear to the ground. You're hearing of opportunities. You have to be ready, willing, and able to take advantage of them when they come. We should be doing that, because real estate, I've owned some investment property for close to 20 years. It's a game changer. That passive income and what you can do for it will change your financial legacy. So I'm proud of you guys. And I hope to see you at that point where you have a house in every city and you can travel, 12 months out the year and just kind of hop around to your different properties. What a blessing that is, right?
And a little bit of like our dynamic that works too is like, if it were me, we probably own a lot more properties and we'd be in the red. But Ash is always challenging me to like, well, show me this works, right? Yeah. Show me this works. But to Ash, to your credit, is she's open-minded to see the potential and the opportunities as well. So it's like, you have to have, that's why we always joke. It's like when we talk about doing the dishes, right? Like she's speed, I'm efficiency. So when I'm done cleaning them, it's going to take twice as long and they're going to be, beautiful. And when she's done too, but she can get them done. So that's kind of how our dynamic works a little bit.
I like that. So here's a question I have. Is there a question that I haven't asked you guys that you want to talk about before we start wrapping up? Is there anything important to you that you want to share with the agents that might end up watching this interview?
At this stage in my life, we're mid-30s, to be able to just take a leap from one career to another, and especially something where people look at what I've done here, going from a stable W-2 into a 1099 situation, working for ourselves. Like, yeah, it's a leap, but it's the best leap I've ever made. And I think that that's because we've planned it appropriately, where this is just as stable as before. We are able to be more profitable. We're able to live a life that we're proud of and that we're excited about. And I think that if you can create an opportunity. Like this opportunity didn't just fall into our laps and just, oh, this is an easy move. This was a hard move, but this was a move that, you know, we created an opportunity here that is going to allow us to have the life that we want. And I think that that's what's super important for people to hear, that like you can make these choices. And you know, people should be doing it in their 40s, 50s, 60s. Doesn't matter. It's not about the age. It's just about the fact that you can. And you just got to figure out how you can, you know?
Right. I mean, I read what Colonel Sanders started Kentucky Fried Chicken in what, 84 or some number out there, right? It doesn't matter the age. And you're right. So many people get stuck and they don't think it's possible and they don't think they can do it. I would say one of the best bets I can make, and one of the best bets you guys have made, you bet on yourself, because you know who you are and you know how you're going to show up and you know what it takes to be successful, and you're going to do it, right? It's the best bet. So I'm proud of you guys, and I'm looking forward to having you back on here once you start building this team and you actually have a showing assistant, you have a buyer's agent, and you guys are working on getting to that 7th level. I want to have you back so we can talk about what that looks like and see you on your road to travel in this United States and all your Airbnb properties. So my final question as we wrap up here, and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for the interview. I like to pose a question to the next person that I interview, but I like you guys to actually come up with a question. So what's the question that I can pose to the next person I interview on Scotch and Scripts?
Something I find myself thinking recently is like, I never thought I would be here, like in life, right? And so it's almost like, did you ever think you would be here? You know, I think you could get a lot of deep answers from that and kind of inspires some things to think about, because a couple decisions here and there, especially in my younger years, like my life could look totally different. So that could probably be a good one.
No, not probably. It's actually a really good one. And it's really interesting, in my opinion, that you brought that up, because I just shared on my Instagram, a post came up on Facebook, and it was a picture of me sitting in my old office in Wyckoff, kind of looking out the window. And I was reflecting, like, I'm getting ready to do a speech and talk to a group of people. And my journey has been my fear of public speaking, right? Like me getting in front of a group, talking to a group of people, kept me from so many opportunities. I actually used to sabotage myself because I didn't want to get up in front of a group, right? And now I'm at a point in my career where I get paid to do that and I actually enjoy it. I never thought I would be here. If you told me, David, I'm in my mid 48, I'll be 48 this year. When you're 48, you will be a coach and you'll be doing trainings and people will pay you to come out and speak. I'd be like, BS, no way, never. Could never even see it. And so, like, did you ever think you would get here? That's a great question, man. On so many different levels. It's a really great question. Yeah. So I want to say thank you. I want to say cheers to you guys. Thank you for being on Scotch and Scripts. We can cheers with water. It's all good.
Thank you so much for having us. This was
Absolutely.
so awesome.
Absolutely.
We could talk to you for hours. So
and one thing I would just like to kind of just put out there before we do wrap this up is that I think it is really important to have good people around you. We talked a little bit about this last on Wednesday, right? On on your weekly Scotch and Scripts. And if it's never been more clear, it certainly has been there. But I just want to express that, like, I started out in real estate as the guy who didn't like any other real estate agent, right? I was in a smaller office. I didn't really have much exposure to other agents and how this industry really is.
Right.
I only saw a lot of the negative. Mm-hmm. Through my 6-year journey, I've realized that there are some amazing people in this business, in this industry, Dave, you being one of them. And if you help, it goes back to that quote, if you help enough people, you'll get everything you want in life. Yes. And I think if you surround yourself with really good people and do your best to weed out the people that are not serving you, then there's really no limit on where you can go.
What a great way to wrap it up, man. What a great message. Your circle, the people you surround yourself with, that ship raises the tide, right? And they help you grow. You grow into the conversations of the people that surround you. And I would say my life is better. I know this for a fact, having known you guys and having conversations with you. You guys push me hold me accountable. We do that for each other. And I think that's extremely important. Your circle is extremely important. So I'm blessed to have you guys in my circle. I love you guys, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you about the team that you have formed. And I'm rooting for you and looking forward to seeing all your success.
Thanks,
Thank you
Dave.
so much.
Thank you.